I sniff constantly. Like, unfortunately, this is my superpower. We convert wearables data for sleeping performance into real-time intervention, such as can be Oura, Samsung Watch, Whoop.
We even see some exits. So I think from an investment standpoint, the market is in motion.
I'm wearing Oura. Big corporates like Sony, Samsung knock into our door.
They are pre-revenue and then they already have like an IP slide or something. And I don't believe that this makes sense. Like
I've been selected for the Royal Academy of Engineering Enterprise Fellowship.
Really like Hynt as a name.
I apologize if I invent names and I throw you random names like Chicken Kitchen.
Since you have so many decision makers at Davos.
9 million, of which 2.9 are venture equity between a VC and angels, and then almost 1 million in public R&D grants. I always say I never been a man, so I don't know the differences in fundraising, different gender.
Thank you so much for joining this episode. Welcome back to Deal Makers and Fakers. I'm Niclas, the host of this episode, and most founders I talk to are selling software. But today's guest is selling something almost no one in venture has figured out how to price yet. Smell. Emanuela is the co-founder and CEO of Hynt, a UCL spinout turning olfactory neuroscience into a hardware and software platform. Her team has built a system that delivers precision sense through wearables and devices. She has raised £2.9 million in equity, another million in grants, and a fresh £4 million round is in motion right now. Emanuela, welcome to Deal Makers and Fakers. Emanuela, thank you so much for joining this episode today. How are you? How's your day so far?
Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to discuss about journey. I'm good. Raining, cold day in London, no summer at all.
Same here in Germany. I actually thought in the last weeks that the spring and summer finally arrived. Now we are basically back to 5 degrees, so it's crazy. Perfect timing to record an episode, or even perfect timing to listen to the episode. I have a very direct first question. So you work now since 20 years in sensory science. When did you last sniff something today and immediately try to deconstruct it?
I sniff constantly. Like, unfortunately, this is my superpower, so I cannot pass walking something, not smell something, and immediately think of what it is. Just entering the office, there's the chicken area, and it was like terrible in the kitchen area. It was stinky. And scientifically, I smelled something 30 minutes ago in our other part of the lab, where we have our machine, we reproduce smell. So I was just trying a new outcome of the device. So that is my everyday. I will not pass 1 minute without me breathing and trying to understand what is around.
Well, this is so interesting. So that means you are very sensitive then to smell, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yes,
you must
correct.
be. It's super interesting because I think I never had like a founder or a company that is similar to yours. And usually I speak to a lot of software as a service companies. Now you are basically selling smell. Of course, this is now very easy described, but in one sentence, or you can also use some more sentences, but what does Hynt actually do?
What we do at Hynt, we convert wearables data for sleeping performance into real-time intervention, and the intervention is made through scent.
Got it. And if we now break it a little bit down, so you said wearables already. So who is basically your audience group? Who is buying in the end the product that you offer?
So our model is a partnership-based model. So we want to enter the final consumer through partner. There are already wearables company in the sleep space, such as can be Oura, Samsung Watch, Whoop, many other players, where we can then open their API, talk to our software solution, and then convert user physiological data and environmental data in instruction on delivery device that is translated optimization as a closed loop between you, your environment, and our machine to optimize your sleeping stages.
Got it. And who would you then say, like, from an end consumer perspective, who here is like your ICP?
So our final customer is all the people are in the well-being ecosystem. They are already clients and using wearables technology to monitor their performance.
I also have one.
You.
Yeah. I know. And I also believe like there's still room for a lot of improvements. I think like the Whoop is quite limited when it comes to sleep specifically. So I think the industry you are operating in is extremely interesting.
And that is exactly mirroring the major pain point of those company wearables, because they have a drop off of user in 100 days at 70%, which is creating a major retention problem, leading for 500 million of them losing money of customer acquisition and so on. Because it's frustrating. You just measure sleep, but you cannot really improving. And sometimes even the measuring of sleep is done in a way of compromising the quality of data they stream because of battery level and many other kind of limitation of the wearable as such. For this, we offsource many of this data on the bedside table device so people they can really then have a better algorithm, taking in consideration not only the user, but the environment, which is fundamental for a good sleep, like light, noise sensor, temperature, humidity are all impacting your ideal sweet spot of a good night of sleep, and the wearable, they don't do it now.
Got it. For me personally, like well-being and optimizing my life is definitely a priority. So I'm now just wondering, how is it for you? Like, do you also wear wearables and do you do like a lot apart, like from your main business, of course, to optimize your own life?
I'm wearing Oura, and it's been like that for half a year now. And then I was wearing another watch to measure and compare performance. I try to optimize, and obviously I try myself the solution we develop, and I use it at home for quite a long period of time. And definitely, yes, I'm a user buyer, but I very know that many factors in everyday life, like having toddlers, they disrupt your sleep, and sometimes your score is impacting more for circumstances that are outside of your body.
Yeah.
And it's important to record that because it's overall taking consideration what is not due to your heart rate disruption, but is something external, is make you spiking awake overnight.
Makes sense. In general, I think the industry well-being is booming right now. Like we have very big companies. We even see some exits. So I think from an investment standpoint, the market is in motion. It's definitely a hot market right now, and we will speak about that in a bit. Before we do that, I have one other question. So obviously,
sure.
You are Italian, trained in the UK, and you are running a UCL spinout. And I think from what I saw in my research, you did and do fundraising on 3 different continents. So I'm just wondering, like, what is like the country where you believe Hynt is the perfect fit? Like, is there even one specific country, or do you believe like every Western country that focuses maybe on well-being might be relevant?
That is a good question. I think it's all about longevity and well-being. So every country, there's kind of a focus on that. Obviously, US, East Coast and so on is the hot place for that. But overall, like Europe is very much investing and looking for, is all improving quality of life, extending longevity. And I think it's both type of there is no region dependent. It's clearly overall context that is still niche because I see many countries there are other priorities.
Yeah.
But UK and definitely US is the real hotspot.
Yeah, makes sense. And would you say like in Europe, all the countries are quite similar? So if you now, for example, compare Germany to the UK or to Italy, like would you say well-being is for all of them same important or same not important, like depending on how you want to see it?
I wish to have data to support but I don't know. I haven't done any deep dive in differentiating different European lifestyle. Definitely like some northern country are much more prone to have this life optimization. And I'm talking all the Nordic country is they are far more advanced than Italy, for instance. And you can mirror that. I obviously check the number of tracker devices sold across Europe, and there is a big differentiation. But then I cannot go in the specificity of France, between Germany and between Italy. I can for sure say Germany is much more like associated with northern country than Spain Spain, Italy, or France. But that, as I said, I don't have data to support my assumption. It's just a personal intuition.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's just interesting to hear your opinion on that. Okay, perfect. Now let's move forward. I would really like to speak a little bit about the origin story and the background, how you built up the company so far. And from my research, I saw you started in academic neuroscience. And I think then you worked at Sussex Lab and then UCL. So I just wonder, when was like the moment for you where you decided this needs to be a company and not only research?
That is a very good question. I don't think it was a specific moment. As you said, I've been dedicating all my research career on investigating the sense of smell and how to build devices that can be used in real life context and doing experiments since I was 19. Wow. And what I'm doing now is exactly the same. It's the consequence of what I've been doing and believe in doing all my life. I think the turning point when I was in Sussex University, the Sky Lab, where my co-founder, back then he was my PI, principal investigator, in a project done with a virtual reality company. And I was working in other sensory modality, and obviously was missing the sense of smell as a main interaction and main research tool. And she's look at me, I remember one lunchtime, I say, do you really want to just lead one project on just digitalizing sense of smell? Let's call it a widget. Do we want to write a European research schema called proof of concept to just try to see if there is a commercial idea that can be then taken as a spinout? And I remember not need to think in 3 seconds. I said, obviously, yes, let's do that. Why not? Because it was just the natural consequence of what I've been doing all my life. So it was an easy step. And then we won that award back in 2018. So it was giving us a lump of money, £150,000, completely equity free, for us to file the first patent, explore all the potential business model. Actually, the funding was covering a trip to Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
In the Oura park. To proof point is working, as someone come to us and actually had the very big outcome of big corporates like Sony, Samsung knocking to our door and just having demos, talking to us. And since then, we've been in touch with the same kind of company, same kind of contact. That it was a great confirmation of not being totally off from the idea of whatever was an academic knowledge, neuroscience kind of centered. It was only a matter of translating an easy tool to be used by people. It's the step of any other modality that's been digitalized, right? Audio, It was basic before, and then you can compose and create with your computer MIDI file using different instruments and so on. So it's just a step of getting something very complex, measuring it, reproducing it, and then making it available.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I just would like to speak a little bit now about the commercialization process, because I think especially for these type of deep tech companies that are very research focused, I would like to understand better the process here. So when you basically receive the grant, do you then focus with that money mainly on continuing the research, or do you already think about like business model and how you can earn money? Like how does like the transition work?
Yeah, that is interesting because I think it's a process. It's not like something you sit down day one of the grant we establish. For sure, we started doing filing a patent. It was independent from the academia, and also in the patent process, securing or what is the IP transfer from the university, because you are formally an employee of the university. So that was an interesting and extremely challenging process of securing everything. And all new, because when you do research, you don't think about IP, or in my best of life, I never thought about, I'm publishing something, I disclose something before it's going to be public available and so on, or even involving students in projects.
Oh, that's cool. By the way, just like a random funny fact, I always get a little bit skeptical when there are founders who think about the IP too early. And we see that very often, like some founders come to us and they are product, they are pre-revenue, and then they already have like an IP slide or something. And I don't believe that this makes sense. Like, I think it shows the wrong signals to investors. So better probably to focus on the research, on the product, and then later you can always think about that. But of course, I also understand that you need to have like the commercialization figured out so that you can actually then...
Ideas. Yeah. Exactly. I think for this, I say, it's been a process. Obviously, the first part of the grant was building a beta version of everything. So a functional device, ugly, was 3D printed, laser cut, glued together. And then it was a software beta version. So it was all that. And then from there, writing the patent, because my first thinking with my co-founder, Mariana, always was like, oh, let's write a paper. And then immediately talking with our tech transfer officer at the university was like, hold on. You cannot publish a paper if you don't have secure or file the patent or going to CES showing everything without being protection. So that it was already like 8 months later the grant started. So that was interesting. And then the commercial. So we started to have like little pot of money to do marketing research, like what people really think or numbers are working, but to be completely transparent. After that grant, be selected for the Royal Academy of Engineering Enterprise Fellowship. And there they pay me for 1 year to be retrained as an entrepreneur, where I learned what does it mean a commercial model, business model, a canvas of swap analysis and stuff like that. But before that, it was not there. Like when we wrote the proposal, it was like, oh, we can sell this. People, they can use it. And our big dream was creating a standard as Adobe, as a PDF, or Dolby. So we were seeing this kind of similarity that now after 4 or 5 years, they come back. So it's a licensing model, B2B, but yes, a real meaning than what I used like back in 2018.
Got it. Yeah, interesting. And I already saw about the Royal Academy Fellowship. So that was actually one of the questions. You answered that already. So that's perfect. My next question is about the different names you had so far with the company, because I saw there were like 3 names. Is there like a reason why you switched them? And what was like the reasoning behind that?
That is it's been a journey. So as I said, we started the company as a research project. So the name was O Widgets, which standing for olfactory widgets. And from a computer science background, is building blocks to design with. Like you have widgets in your phone, it's like a simplified access to have some features. So it was really technical idea. Then we raised some angel money and it was fine. They didn't comment much, but I started like early on talking with our current VC. And the same person that invested, they say to me, yeah, I really don't like this name because it's just give you the wrong idea. It looks like, oh, yeah, some widgets to do stuff. It's very simplifying. Also, olfactory, who use olfactory? And then nothing happened. And then I tried to, without investing money, to pay a company to change name. So the next name was OW Smell Made Digital when they invested, because it was in between not the requirement, but I say, okay, we need to work on the name to make it what you do even easy to be understood. So to my mind, OW was the old version, as like olfactory widget. But then what we do is Smell Made Digital. So we digitalize the senses. So we ran with that name a bit, but then the feedback was terrifying, like in a negative way from US, because OW was oh. So there was like all a misspelling and misreading, and smell also has a negative connotation instead of a positive. So the story goes that we raised another time, and then we had a bit of capital, and actually Pentagram, a kind of global advertising company, started to work with us because they liked very much the project, thanks to one of our team members. So we started working with them and say, we need ideas of meaning internally between the board and the team, but it was impossible to select one. And obviously we need then check all the trademark registration and conflict of everything. So last year in February 2025, after that was a long process, we then changed the name to Hynt Labs.
Oh wow, so it's still relatively young then. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And by the way, I really like Hynt as a name. So I think it's like the perfect choice.
Because it's memorable. Yeah. Yes, some meaning of connotation, Hynt, like the hint of smell, and also the interaction between the synapses in the brain when you smell. So there is all like a nice, really strong thought meaning, and the sound, and it's memorable and it's simple and it just makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And now you already mentioned just a little bit about the capital raising journey you had so far, and I think this is like, of course, the most interesting part of this podcast. Before we jump into that part, I have one last question about Davos. So in my research, I saw that you also delivered a scent experience there, and I think it's super interesting, but I couldn't find so much. So I would love to hear how this basically happened.
Yeah, so that was one of our first clients. So when after CES, actually, the push to have a company incorporate was coming because many people, they were coming to us as clients. They wanted to use the sense of smell as an interaction modality, both for medical application, like Rockefeller University, and for entertainment in virtual reality as a new storytelling modality. And what we built, it was a MIDI file conversion with a timeline you can design with smell and just trigger with different scene, smell, and intensity. So a creative group called New Reality Co., based in New York, will support Emilia Maggioni. Sorry, I will mismatch the name. And I'm also a dyslexic thinker, so I apologize if I invent names and I throw you random names like Chicken Kitchen. That is my brain. Poor Milika will not be happy with me destroy her name. But so they contact us because they met Mariana in a conference, always in the World Organization, I think in China, and they were doing the experience. It's called 3VR. It's a multisensory experience founded by the Rainforest Alliance Against the Deforestation. People embedded a seed that grows in a tropical forest and is done to raise capital against deforestation. So they were using, as a part of the storytelling, like smell or matches in front of your nose, or like going around you with some pipes. And Mariana said, why you don't come to the lab? You try our technology. So the story goes, I think I met with Milica in December, and then Davos was in January.
Okay.
And then, but they love it. And then I spent the Christmas holidays just to make all compliant with Davos. Like it was, I don't know, many leading politicians coming in. So security, health, noise of the device, everything. And then we had 3 stations working in the same time. So there was a lot of 3D printing, and it was a great experience, to be fair, because the team, New Reality, they just believe in us. And we just delivered there when we arrive, and I will remember forever going to Davos with a compressor and getting through security, taking from Geneva airport, going all the trains and the snow. It's an amazing memory. And the outreach and the experience and people crying and being emotional, thanks also to the smell, it's been priceless. And then we've been in different World Economic Forum events. We returned there for 2 years in a row, and then in other places.
That's amazing. I just have to think about that, because I think it's like the most brilliant marketing strategy also ever, since you have so many decision makers at Davos who are leading companies, and in the end it probably it's like a multiplicator. Like you meet some people, they get the experience, and maybe there are some who know other companies. So sounds very, very brilliant. Emanuela, you now mentioned sometimes Mariana, so she is your co-founder, obviously. I just would like to understand a little bit the distribution of work between you two, because you two have a scientific background. Do you have like a separation that you say like one of us is more on the business side now, and the other person is maybe more on the scientific side, or are you both doing both? That
is an interesting. I think the very beginning we were like sharing much more, and then there was a turning point when I finished the Royal Academy. Then she's not took the lead completely because I stopped working in academia. So my time, it was transitioning partially in the company, and then spontaneously I cover both CEO and CTO because I need to have the mindset of not just pure academia. So Mariana is still a full-time professor at UCL in the Department of Computer Science in multisensory interfaces. What she does is a chief scientific officer. She looks for brands and futuristic, is more blue sky type of research. And now it's funny because I have a lot of requests from her, and many times I can say, no, we cannot do that because it's not within the budget. It's not in our business plan. We need to wait to that. So we revert the role, every day active in the company. And then when we had grants, from the European Union or other UK grants, we allocate time and we have kind of 1 day a week from her to work specifically on bespoke projects, and she lead that kind of internal project within the business plan.
Got it. That makes sense. And it's interesting. I just had to smile a little bit because I can imagine like how interesting it is also for you as a person, how things change. Like in the beginning, you focus so much on the science, and now you are the person who also has to say, no, we can't do that anymore. Look at the budget. And before the royalty program, you probably focused way more always to see things like a scientific person.
Yeah, which is still there, because I think I will never change my approach. Whatever we do is scientifically driven and proven, but the approach is not, we don't spend many months to try to redefine and change some minimal details of anything that is not either perceivable from a normal consumer. And many times I've been reminded that consumer like simplicity, and everything we do, it was extremely complex from a scientific perspective of chemical compounds, ingredients, mixture, perception threshold. And I think I change, I learn what does mean to have a business, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a compromise in between what is a minimal valuable product. Otherwise, you will spend all your life just reaching the best perfect idea of scientific outcome, then is not turning in the reality of a consumer benefit, because it's not neither perceivable.
I agree. And this is, by the way, something I think I do a couple of posts on that topic on LinkedIn very often, because I often have the feeling that Europe is very good when it comes to science and deep tech. But then what we see is that the commercialization happens in other countries like the States or even China. So I think what you do there is great. Like you combine both. You do the science and then also the commercialization. And I think Europe definitely needs this.
Yeah, that is exactly learning in progress, talking with partners like big wearable companies or other like even artists or other type clients. The end goal is reality check, what is worth it and at which speed you can go with the capital you have, obviously.
Capital. Perfect topic now. Perfect transition. And sorry, by the way, that we focus so much now on other topics, but it was so interesting. Now
that is my pleasure. I think I enjoy as well.
Perfect. So then let's move on and speak about capital raising. We already spoke about that in our preparation call, but please give me again a quick summary. So total raise to date, equity, grants, debt, soft commitments, would be great if you could break it down a little bit.
Yeah, so I can give you a bit of how much we raise until now is a total of 3.9 million, of which 2.9 are venture equity between a VC and angels, and then almost 1 million in public R&D grants, equity free. So it's always a combination of private equity and grants. So far, UK, there are some tax discount and benefit or two level of investment, a cap of 250k, where angels they usually invest and have a discount in the tax. And then the second step is called EIS, where then venture capital, they come in and they still have an incentive, but it's a different type of schema. So we kind of done that gradually over time. Our main VC is called Parkour Advisor, is a deep tech specialized in spinout of academia investor based in UK. And our director has been extremely involved in the company since early on, very active. And keep in mind, the company is being extremely capital efficient, and also the team has been growing organically. So for the first few years, it was me and another engineer. And then with the second round, we really expanded the team, and now we have 13 people. So
wow.
And someone is having support or like checking a spreadsheet with me, or it was, I think, as I said, they've been extremely lucky on the journey. And then they support us 2 times. And actually the very first time I was pitching to them, as I said, I met him 1 year before the investment and then he said, I like the idea. I dislike the name. I think you need to do something more, but then let's keep in touch. And that keep in touch then turn in a very quick pitch, and then converted in the first investment of 1 million, where as a paradox, I was just pitching for 500k. To be fair, luckily so, because I can see the time you allocate in the fundraising every time is so big that back then I would have just invested basically all my time again to fundraising again. So
makes sense. And I think it's interesting. Why did you first wanted to raise 500K? So did you have like any financials or projections at this point, or was it more that you thought like about the next steps and hiring, but you did not break it down fully?
I think it was a genuinely underestimation of the capital you need to do everything, like even hardware production as such, because I still have an hardware. And back then there was a lot of prototyping and R&D that I couldn't afford to do it myself anymore. Couldn't stay here, 3D printing, glue stuff together. So I need to pay a company doing that, much more expensive. And also in my idea, I really wanted to work on the smell test and medical test. So I was doing all the business plan based on the fact that we were doing FDA approval and stack approach. So I would needed to raise much more capital in a longer journey and working together with Rockefeller University. But then soon it was so complex and still we didn't have a license from Rockefeller University. The quantum of money involved, it was too big. So it was not a mistake. It was a different approach of seeing the company journey. And then the VC is see much more, let's apply in the well-being consumer, which I totally see why. The journey I was expecting was a longer journey with much more capital in the end. And I wanted to break it down in tiny, small steps to de-risk the journey and feeling myself confident of what I was doing, like checkpoints. And then I just need to run faster, basically. The last round, it was extremely pivotal in understanding what was the entry market point, where we have easy to enter, but where we can show the power of what we do and measure it on physiological outcome and benefit for the final user. And then sleep is such a big market growing so fast, where the unmet need was exactly, you have data, they're extremely powerful, but there is a gap, kind of connect the dots and making powerful also kind of proposition.
Not just for me to understand that better. So this time was basically between your £1 million seed round and then the follow-on of the 2.2 million, right? So that what you just described, the process here.
Yeah. The follow-on of the 2.2, actually, it was part of that, almost 1 million was equity-free grant again.
Got it.
It was exactly de-risking the idea of the sleep.
Okay.
Was a theoretical approach. Does it work? Theoretically, yes. How the brain compute the information of the sense of smell, the connection with the GABA receptor and so on. There were like some studies showing that. But the hypothesis was like, can we modulate brainwave real time? Can we deliver the sentient mix mid-air? And then thanks to the grant, we could then do medical grade kind of studies and showcase that. It was de-risking the entry in the sleep market. And our VC, because of a matter of speed and time, it just backed us again because the grant needed to start in a certain number of months. Yeah. And again, every time you fundraise, you don't build really like full on. So it was just like speed and agreement on we both truly believe in the sleep market, and actually is proven right because the last 2 years has been exactly validating the science. So we proved that it works and how it works. We constantly do longitudinal home studies. Nice. We created the infrastructure to collect data. We de-risked the hardware production. So we have CE mark, but also a price point and how to produce it in a production chain based in Hong Kong, and the proof point of the capsule design. So we have done all the de-risking parts extremely capital efficient.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. And that sounds also like a moment that basically tells us you are now ready to go out there to earn revenue and everything is already de-risked. So let's maybe speak about that, because you also mentioned that you are now already preparing your next round and you already have some verbal commitments for that round. So I would just like to understand better here the goal of this new funding round. Yeah, maybe you can share some more details on that.
Yeah, we are completely full on the new fundraising. It's not just started. I think it's been from January a kind of an ongoing process. So we have a commitment of 1.3 million. And again, we won another competitive awards of 700.
Congrats.
Okay, equity free, which is again de-risking and is completely based on the data side and how to optimize what is our proprietary data flywheel, which is optimized constantly over time and creating a strong motto for us to keep the data in the core of the AI platform. So the next step, as I said, is collecting data. So like deploying more than 500 MVP units in consumer environment, collecting data and making partnership with wearables company where we can work with the API, open access of data streaming, work with them to optimize their technology as well and expanding their capability. And then finding like a partner scale. So the ideal scenario will be have a partnership with one of these companies. So that is part of our business model, but also keep the next 2 years a proof point of the business model. The main criticism is like is a B2B license is slow because it depends upon partner speed. So we there is that having multiple partners and working with different size of partners like Oura as a size, Google is another speed. So we're trying to there is that, and also we there is the fact of keep our independence in collecting data and validating, and then seeing the next 2 years the direction of keeping a B2B license, being invisible brand or becoming a brand that is supply cartridges or having like share royalty, and the speed is not connected with any strong big revenue from partners on purpose to just give us exactly this flexibility of running no matter what is happening with partner speed.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. And also, I really see the mode that your company is building up right now with the data play. So that just makes sense. It's a very interesting niche, as I said already. Let's speak maybe just briefly about deep tech fundraising. So how do you currently see that from your perspective? Do you think the UK is a good country for deep tech fundraising or not?
In between European countries, I think it's still the best. I still see a very big appetite differences between US market because of the risk aversion. So in UK, I think anything that is giving you, there are different type of deep tech that are really long journey. So they're happy to take the risk and just waiting to see what comes next. But the quantum is absolutely not comparable of the US market. And this is the reason why many deep tech company then they move to US to scale.
Emanuela, what is if one investor now would say, interesting, I would love to invest in Hynt, but only if you relocate to Boston? Would you actually consider that?
Yes, obviously. So yes, we can. We are still in the phase we can be flexible. And of course, we can also have two identity, incorporating US, Delaware is all possible. It requires obviously a different kind of investment, like a higher capital number. And then we require transition moment of moving, not many the production, because as I said, is all set up. It's more just changing administration type and see who can then move physically there or not. But it's absolutely something we've been contemplating and be debating widely in the last couple of months, even because the main partner we are working on are US based. So I've been in US like 2 times in a few months. So it sounds like a natural way of doing it. I am strongly believing Europe should lead the race, because many excellence in UK or Europe, they just move. And I feel the same on my research path, like Italy pay me everything. I had like grants and opportunity, and then I just moved here because I couldn't then exploit what I'd done. And it's a shame because it's not a capital return. And it's exactly what happened in UK. Like all these early stage investors, they lose the momentum if they don't keep backing companies and taking the leap of risk now.
It's the same in Germany.
Is a catch-22. They love the idea, but they want to see more partner agreement. Yeah. And if I'm in that stage, I don't probably need more investment. Yeah. And it's just, you need to take the leap of backing someone that with not what is written in a plan, with the flexibility, the knowledge that can pivot and move. Like I'm extremely lucky because my team has decades of experience in consumer electronics, in innovate technology, like Paul Smith, my head of business development, been doing many companies. So we have the flexibility of having 3 types of business model in function of what trigger points we see the company need to pivot, but it's not enough. for many VC. They don't have confidence that work and they want to stay in touch and see how things going.
Yeah, I think this is like honestly a very big problem that we have. I just hope that in the future it will be somehow solved. I think some things are actually moving into the right direction, but it's just very slow. So let's see. I just would like to speak about your next 12-month plan.
Yeah, we are definitely trying to speed up and having a pilot with one of the wearable companies. So we are starting already have a proposal to make in motion this partnership that is strengthening our position as a startup, de-risking the next step, acquiring knowledge from consumer, deploying in people houses and collect data and then see all the functional proof point and stress point, even the business model and the assumption of the consumption of the capsule and so on. So that is our main goal. In our ideal scenario, we would love to sign a partner license already in 1 year time. So building this momentum of just deploying pilots at scale with partner, they have already a consumer pool so we can deploy in beta testing.
Perfect. And I just have to ask, because I think it's quite interesting for the audience here. In general, from my perspective, there are not so many female deep tech founders. So I have to ask, like, how do you see that from your perspective? Am I wrong or am I right? And if I'm right, like, do you feel sometimes treated in a different way? Does it help?
That is one of the topics I love as well. I always say I never been a man, so I don't know the differences in fundraising, different gender. What I can say from my little experience, this is my third fundraising. As a female, you need to show much more. You need to prove much more. Generally, they say is a pattern connection, recognition. So men back men because they know men what they can do. Sad, obviously, and the statistics show that, and I can just mirror that. Yes, and there is an intrinsic bias. I bring my male part of the company in the table most often now. So just to mirror, they can talk in the same language, which is sad as a sad.
Yeah.
There are not many VC female, unfortunately, as well. I've been interacting, luckily, recently with some of them that I deeply respect and like. It's not the norm. And I wish to say, no, it's all the same. I don't know how easy it would have been if I was another gender. I will never know. That said, I would love that to change for the next generation as well. And this is from academia problems all the way through gender inequality is still there.
I could probably do one full episode just about that topic. I can just confirm what you said based on what another female founder told me. She was actually my first episode of the podcast. So maybe someone wants to hear this now. It was a great one as well. Like, the sad part is that I now just had 2 episodes with female founders, and it's very difficult actually to get like replies from them or get like podcast episodes. I think it's mainly because there are just not so many compared to male founders.
Quantity.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is like the main reason. But I think it's quite sad because I also believe, from my perspective, sometimes better in specific things when it comes to building a company. And there are also statistics for that actually. But again, like, this would break the episode now if we speak about that. Emanuela, last question. Like, if you would have now any advice for a deep tech founder who also has maybe more an academic background in the beginning and now wants to commercialize and bring the technology out, like, what advice would you give?
Something I found extremely useful in my path was having mentors. People that done it before you. Nothing is new. Just find experience-wise people. They believe in you and they want to brainstorm and support you. Nothing is the first time. It's always repeating processes. Changing what you do, but let's not invent the wheel when someone else has experience to give it to you, and be flexible to learn and readjust. And the mindset of an academic is very much far away from a business company sometimes. So just find a compromise and not losing your ethics.
Brilliant. Emanuela, thank you so much for joining this episode. It was really a pleasure to speak to you.
But thank you for having me.